So, we are in the middle of a 6-week series on the 12 spiritual powers, Unity's teachings. We only have a couple of teachings, everybody. So, here's one of our basics. It's the 12 spiritual powers. We've got them along our wall here, artwork done by Grace Hollow. So, you can follow along every Sunday. And the 12 powers, just as a reminder, are our abilities that are innate within us. You have them. No one can take it away from you. These 12 powers or abilities, attributes, make up your divine nature, your divine identity. So the 12 powers that we've covered so far are faith, strength, will, understanding, and then last week, Reverend Sherry Hersey did power and imagination. And so today I'm going to take us into a look of wisdom and order and how they work hand in hand. And it's so interesting because all of these, when you really get in there, they work in tandem together so often. And wisdom and order really do work together. It's really hard to take one out of the other one. So it was funny, I was thinking about today's talk and I thought, I know I have a lot of examples about how I've used wisdom, my spiritual wisdom and order, divine order. But when we met on Tuesday, we every Tuesday meet for a production meeting for our Sunday celebration service. And I was meeting with Lynn's, our Sunday coordinator. And I said, I know I have all these examples, but I can't think of any. And he was so funny. He said, well, you have no order for your wisdom. And so that pretty much sums it up, everybody. But as you'll see, I came up with lots of examples. So you all, you can stay the whole storm with me if you'd like. I came up with lots of them. Okay. So let's jump right in. So what are our spiritual powers or abilities of wisdom and order? How are they inherent within us? How do they work? Let's get to the first slide. So wisdom. Oh, well, that's supposed to be yellow. Imagine it's yellow, everybody. It's like our walls here. Is it? Oh, okay. My monitor doesn't look quite yellow, but yellow. So wisdom, the spiritual power of wisdom, it's to evaluate, to discern, to use judgment. That doesn't mean to judge, but it means to use your judgment and to apply what you know. You know that you know. This is your intuitive self. This is your intuitive knowing. When you get that gut feeling, and that's why, every color is represented by a location in the body, and this one is the solar plexus or the pit of the stomach. How many of you have had that gut feeling about something before? Have we all had that? Yeah, that's our spiritual power of wisdom. And you're activating your spiritual attribute of wisdom when you make a decision and you feel complete peace with it. Have you had that happen before? You're trying to decide about something and then you think, no, here's what my gut's telling me, and you go with it, and then there's just peace around it. That's when you are activating that spiritual attribute of wisdom. So it is colored yellow. It's located again in that pit of the stomach, that gut feeling. And the disciple, for those of you, I know some of you really like the disciples that are attached to it too. It's James, son of Zebedee. Then we get to the spiritual power of order. Let's just go through that. Well, that's definitely green. So order. So when we're talking about the spiritual power of order, we're looking at to organize, to balance, to sequence, to adjust. So we make those adjustments to make it right, to put it in order. It shows up in every area of our life. It shows up in our space. It shows up in our work. It shows up in our closet. It shows up in our files. It shows up in everything. Because remember, with each of these spiritual attributes, we can overuse them, we can underuse them, or we can have them in balance. So if you saw my office desk, you would say, Stacy, you're definitely underusing the power of order. It's a mess. Yeah, it needs some order to it. So order can be in every area of our life. The color is olive green. It's located, again, now it's in the navel area, which is our core, right? Because we need order and balance is what's going to keep us, that core, stable to move forward. But isn't it interesting that wisdom is also in this area? So again, they're going hand in hand. How do I use my wisdom, and within my wisdom, then make a plan and move it forward in an orderly fashion? So we first Oh, and then the disciple, James, son of Alphaeus. Alphaeus? Anyone? No. Okay. We'll have to look him up. So divine order. So a lot of times when we think of order, we often say divine order. So what is divine order? How does Unity define divine order? For us, divine order, Unity's teachings, that is our Trinity. You want to know what our Trinity is? Our Trinity is divine order. Here on this slide, it's how we create everything. Mind, idea, expression. That's the equation. Divine order equals mind, idea, expression. Mind also, Charles Filmer, our co-founder, called that principle, divine mind, divine intelligence. We've also called it the field of potentiality, right, or possibility from our E squared and E cubed books. So within this field realm of divine intelligence, an idea comes and then it's expressed. That's the divine order. So within everything in our lives, there's an orderly sequence, whether we're conscious about it or not. But we have a thought, an idea, a feeling that we experience. We shape it into an idea or a plan, and then we bring it into physical existence, manifestation, demonstration. So that's why I love the songs today, because the songs today really do sing into today's ideas around both wisdom and order. You know, what they were just singing, listen for the whisper. Listen for the whisper really is about listening to your inner wisdom, that intuitive part of yourself. And the next song they're going to be singing, a Harold Payne song, about taking the one next step in the right direction, right? Take the step in the right direction. So you have your wisdom, your intuitive knowing that you listen to, and then you take the step in the right direction. So just know that the songs can really help support you and activate for you these ideas of wisdom and order. So you can go back and watch on YouTube later, either the whole Sunday service or the songs themselves. Because I think those songs, again, songs speak to us in different ways, don't they? So I would encourage you to listen to those. So our spiritual attribute or power of wisdom is that blend of knowing an answer from both our head and our heart. It's when our head and our heart are in harmony together. And then our spiritual attribute or power of order is that manifestation, the creating, the demonstration in a balanced, sequenced way. What I really, really, really want to make sure we hear today is that when we say, a lot of times we'll hear, right, in our new thought circles, oh, it's all in divine order. It's all in divine order. And a lot of times what we're saying, people are saying when they say that, is that God or something outside of ourselves are ordering it up. Like we're chess pieces on a chess set, right? And that's not what it is. You are the divine. You are the divine. You are the creator. You are divinely ordering up your life. Now, also don't hear if something happens, a challenge, something that we'd call bad, right? Bad, challenging, lifes. I'm not saying you ordered that up. What I'm saying is you get to order up how you respond to life. And that's how we create life. That's how we create our life. Because it's our own divine nature that's speaking to us, instructing us on how we want to sequence the events or make the decisions in our lives to move forward. But so often we just kind of blow it off as, oh, it's all in divine order, and give that power away to something or someone outside of ourselves. And that's not what the spiritual power of order is about. Because when we do that, when we just say, oh, it's just all, oh, someone comes to us. I just lost my job, or I just lost a loved one. Oh, it's all in divine order. That is spiritual malpractice. That is denial. That's spiritual bypassing. We really need to listen first to the heart. That's our wise, knowing heart, is to listen. Allow the person to be heard. Let them get the feelings and emotions and anger out and processed, because then, once it's out, then we can have room within us to listen to the wisdom and then make the next decision, take the next right step. That's the spiritual power of order. Even in our Unity booklet, and we still have some in the back here in our little bookstore. Thank you. I was going to say bookshelf, really. Our bookshelf. We have How to Stay Centered No Matter What, a Unity publication on the 12 powers. And here is what Reverend John Roach writes about this, because he says, sometimes we have these chaotic and challenging times in our lives. Sometimes. Anyone? So he says, I think it is important to avoid easy answers to difficult and heart-rending problems. This is sometimes called cheap grace or spiritual bypassing. This is when we blithely affirm or declare all is in divine order, or God doesn't give us anything we can't handle. I really hate that one. So I was in spiritual counseling with someone a couple weeks ago, and they said to me, I know everyone says that God doesn't give us more than we can handle, and I said, stop right there. Stop. I do not like that. I do not believe that. And she said, oh, good, because I don't like it either. That's not divine order. We have to engage at the human level. So when life happens, divine order is about the growing into and deciding what is the next decision for us based on our own wise, intuitive knowing. You can use your wisdom, that intuition, to know what you need to do or say in a situation, whether it's to another person or to yourself. And so then it's order, in other words, ordering, balancing, because remember, order is about balancing your heart and mind knowing, so that your wisdom is activated at the highest consciousness that it can be expressed as. So in our Rise into Your Power cards, hopefully each of you got a card, but we also have a pack of those in the back too. On the wisdom card, it says, when I draw from inner wisdom, I know the right course of action. I'm going to say that one more time so we can say it together. When I draw from inner wisdom, I know the right course of action. Will you say that with me? When I draw from inner wisdom, I know the right course of action. Do you hear wisdom and order in that? Yeah. So it's that spiritual wisdom where you apply what you know and then you take the next action step. So just yesterday, for example, so how do we apply this to real life? So yesterday, we hear a hurricane's coming. So we prepare for a hurricane. Now, we could wave it away and just say, oh, all is well, all will be fine. However, again, if you're not first checking in with your wise and knowing heart, then that's going to be denial. But what we do instead is we say, here's the information. A hurricane's coming. Let me check in with myself. What do I want to do? There's no fear there. Do you hear fear? No. It's let me gather the information. Let me take it through my wisdom. And then let me decide, what are my next steps? Okay, so my next steps after listening is to move the outdoor furniture into the garage or clear my calendar for Monday. I listen to the wisdom and then I take the next orderly step. Or you can also listen, get quiet and say, okay, what do I need to do in this situation? Because again, we're talking about a hurricane, but we're also talking about the hurricanes of our lives. So when something comes up, I take in the information, I run it through my wise, knowing heart. My mind, my heart work together in balance, and then I decide. And then maybe the decision is that all is well, that there's nothing more to do. But see, then I've run it through my spiritual power of wisdom first. I haven't, out of fear, not wanting to really look at it, wanting to bypass it, just gone, oh, all is well, it's going to be fine. Instead, I say, okay, let me take that in. Let me run it through. Okay, now I know. It could be to do something, it could be to do nothing. But it's about listening to that inner wisdom first. And then order. So order, again, having a divine idea, a feeling which produces an idea. Put the chairs away, cancel the appointments, and then you take action. Again, mind or that field of potentiality, divine intelligence, then produces an idea, which then produces an experience in our outside world. So another example of using spiritual wisdom and order, when our youngest son, Graham, and of course, you know, whenever I share personal stories, I've asked people first. So our youngest son, Graham, who just turned 19 yesterday, I know some of you remember him when he was like a year and a half, when he first started coming. Oh, you get applause. Oh, okay. Turn 19, you get applause. I've worked like all night on this, everybody. So when Graham was just a newborn, he was about 5 or 6 days old, and he just was sleeping a lot, and then we noticed he had a low-grade fever. So we took him, of course, to the doctor right away, and the doctor, after some tests, we realized he had kidney reflux. And so what happens is that you can have infections, right? Keep having bladder, kidney infections from this, and so that's why he kept having fevers. So the prescription that the doctor said was that we had to give him a small dose of antibiotics every day for a year. So I sat with him, either with a little syringe or a little spoon, giving him a little low dose of antibiotics. But when I did that, I had an affirmation. I can't remember exactly what I said, but it was something like, you know what, your body is going to take in exactly what it needs, and it's going to easily release what it doesn't need. And I know that your body is growing stronger and healing every day. I know you are whole, and I know you are well. And I said that to him every day for 6 months. And about 6 months after saying this every day, all of a sudden something deep within me said, he's well. He is whole. Everything is okay. He doesn't need this anymore. It was something in the pit of my stomach, that whisper. Listen for the whisper. The whisper spoke to me. So I went to the doctor and I said, you know, I'm feeling like I'd like to stop this protocol. And our pediatrician said, that's fine, as long as if he ever gets a fever, you need to bring him right into the ER or the urgent care to my office. And I said, okay. Do you know, for the next 6 months, he never had a kidney-induced fever. Now, the story is not about ignoring doctor's orders. And I even love that, doctor's orders. It's not about ignoring doctor's orders, but it was about, because you'll hear in a minute how I followed doctor's orders many times, when my intuition and wisdom said to do that. But here, it was really about a deep soul level hearing, spiritual intuition about the situation. It really was about my head and heart coming together and being at peace and knowing deep inside me that all was well. There was not anything within me that said anything other than all is well. And so then there was a plan. There was an order with the doctor. Here's how we'll balance this. Here's how we'll organize this. If A, then B. And we didn't need it, but isn't it great that we had order to the situation as well? You know, some of you have noticed, I haven't talked a whole lot about it, but you know, I have a big scar. Let me just show you all. So I have a big scar on my arm. Now, I've talked about a lot of other health challenges I've had in my life, but I haven't really addressed that one because I grew up with it. I had surgery at 2 weeks old because I was born with a blood vessel tumor. Doctors at the time, in March of 1970, didn't know if it was benign or not. So they told my mother several different possible outcomes, one being that I would lose my right arm, another one being, well, maybe we wouldn't have to lose her right arm. We might have to just have her not have any use of her wrist or right hand. Of course, I am right-handed, and this is my dominant hand. So there was lots of questions. But my mother said that when I was in surgery, 2 weeks old, her first child, she said she just had this wisdom, this inner peace of knowing, deep within her knowing that all was well. She said, I just felt like the doctors had their wisdom and their order that they were using, and I had a deep inner knowing that everything was going to be okay. And afterwards, they put the little babies in the bassinet, and of course, back in those days, you could just look through the glass, right? So she saw me in my little bassinet, and she said she was standing there, and she just saw this image, this vision of Jesus standing over my bassinet, and she said, I just felt like it was God, Source, speaking to me, saying, she's going to be okay. That's our inner wisdom. When our highest consciousness, our soul selves speak to us in such a way, all is well. With my own health journey, one of the many that I have shared, of course, that it started in 2015 with nerve pain and weakness on my face, right side of my body, my legs, turned out to be active shingles that wouldn't quiet down. There was many times that I had to trust my inner wisdom of what to do next. And of course, I've shared here, the one time I went up against and didn't listen to my intuition left me in a lot of pain. That was when I had my lumbar puncture. And that caused a whole other issue. And so I really learned from that how important it is to follow your intuition, that gut feeling that says to do something or not to do something. But overall, I had two doctors who they kept trusting their inner wisdom. All the other doctors I spoke to, all the other doctors in the area, I thought they were crazy. But they were thinking out of the box and trusting their own wisdom, and I felt I could trust my wisdom within their wisdom as well. And so I kept saying yes to their advice. And so there was an order to medications, procedures, tests, and a long-term plan. Well, some of you who are on, maybe see my personal social media, know that just recently, within the last month, for the first time since we've been measuring my active shingles numbers, which was about the end of 2016, but of course this all started at 2015, my active shingles number is normal for the first time in 7 or 8 years. Wow. Yes. Thank you. But remember, I shared a couple months ago when we were in our series, This Life is Yours, that about 18 months ago, my inner wisdom was telling me, this is no longer your truth. Having active shingles is no longer your truth. Not only are you whole, but you're also well. Yeah. And there was an orderly plan all along the time. But see, I can also look at that situation and see how all of the other spiritual attributes were in effect, how I was activating all of them. Faith to believe in something other than what was on that lab sheet. That is not my truth. Imagination, the spiritual attribute or power of imagination. Whenever I worked out for the last 18 months, I would visualize if I was punching that shingles right out of my spinal cord. If I had a slam ball, I was slamming that shingles right out of my nervous system. The power of imagination. Strength, the spiritual power of strength to continue to move forward, to not let my physical limitations limit me. The spiritual power of will or willpower, to continue with that will to live in gratitude, even if I was in physical discomfort. Spiritual understanding. I stopped very early on saying, why is this happening to me? And I started saying, what is here for me? What is here for me? So I can understand my own spiritual growth, mastery, and apply it along with compassion. And then that spiritual power of power or mastery. Oh, the mastery over my thoughts that I needed to employ over the last 7 or 8 years. Because there were some dark times. So acknowledging the dark times, but then moving myself with that spiritual mastery into different thoughts. Like, this does not define me. This will not be my life forever. This is not who I am. And then some days it's just this. Or it just is. Which is the spiritual power of release, which we'll get to. Releasing. And then gratitude for life, spiritual power of life. And really affirming, I am an expression of the divine, and I continue to express that divinity no matter what life throws at me. That's true for you too. Hear that for yourself. I'm an expression of the divine, and I continue to express that divinity no matter what life throws at me. So wisdom to know what to do, and order tells you how to do it. So I have some soul work for you today. Homework. I like to call it soul work. Here's the first slide. Your soul work, how to put the spiritual powers of wisdom and order into practice. So asking yourself, how can I turn within? Here's how you activate wisdom. How can I turn within and trust my inner guidance more? To look at situations in your life and look at, where would I like some more spiritual wisdom? What areas, what situation in my life would I like some more spiritual wisdom shined upon it? What steps can I take to really listen to my intuition? Maybe it's meditating. Maybe it's journaling. I've told you before, a lot of times for my own meditations, I'll just put, divine love, give me an answer. Spirit, what do you have for me today? And I get quiet and I listen, and then I just write whatever comes. Yoga, walking, dancing, other movement, because that gets us out of our head and into our knowing. There was something around a friendship recently, and I was really thinking so hard about it. And then I moved to my desk, and I started working, and then all of a sudden the answer came. Do you see, I got out of my head space, and I was open, because I was doing my ministry work, right? I was open, and then the answer came. So turning and trusting that inner guidance. And then how do we apply more order on the next slide? So asking, where does my life maybe feel out of order or balance? Where do I feel overwhelmed? How can I make, or what adjustments can I make to help a certain area of my life be more orderly? Maybe it's organizing a corner in your room. Maybe it's organizing your desk. Maybe it's organizing your week on Sunday, so that your week or your day doesn't get the best of you. Maybe it's creating a shopping list before you go shopping. Maybe it's creating a budget. I threw that one in for the financial planner in my house. But it's looking at, how do you create order and balance in all areas, especially those that may feel out of control right now. So before we end, I want you to think of a situation in your life that you're in need of an answer. What's an area in your life that's on your head or your heart where you're thinking, I need an answer around this? And then I want you to see yourself just pouring forth this yellow light around the situation, and that green, that earthy green of order that you stand on. And here's what we're going to affirm for that on the slide. Let me say it first. Using my spiritual ability of wisdom, I intuitively know what to do in this situation. I visualize it unfolding in perfect order. Will you say that with me, please? Here we go. Using my spiritual ability of wisdom, I intuitively know what to do in this situation, and I visualize it unfolding in perfect order. Now take that within you and really see it in the situation you're holding in mind and heart. Visualize and feel your wisdom, intuitively knowing what to do. See it, visualize it unfolding in perfect order. And now let's whisper the affirmation. Ready? Using my spiritual ability of wisdom, I intuitively know what to do in this situation, and I visualize it unfolding in perfect order. Yes. You are a powerful creator. And when you activate your spiritual attributes of wisdom and order, life's answers are there for you. And they come about in an orderly fashion. So blessings as you go about your soul work this week, my friends. Amen.